Good evening, good morning, however and whenever you're listening to this, and welcome to another edition of the Cajun Night Live. I am your host, the Cajun Knight, Jacob Mook. I do apologize for me being out of pocket last week. So here's what happened. So I'm a part of a international group, of a chivalric group that's main objective is to help Christians in affected areas around the world, primarily in the Holy Land. And no, by that, I don't mean that we have some sort of a long-standing tie with Israel. I mean, there are a number of Christian churches and hospitals and orphanages and schools that we support in Israel. And if you know anything about how people in Israel view Christians, and you've seen all the videos and all the things, a lot of them don't care. There are some that take it to the extreme, whatever. My point is specifically in Gaza and in Jerusalem, there's a group, there are multiple groups, as a matter of fact, that me and my organization support. And once a year, we get together and we have our big international conference, for lack of better words. Well, this one was the national conference. And so I had to go. I seriously thought I was going to Charleston, South Carolina. I was going to Charlotte, North Carolina. Thankfully, I put in the right address on my Waze app because I literally just went to the email, copy and pasted it and sent. But yeah, man, as I was getting to that like 10-hour mark on the drive, I realized I'm entering North Carolina and I'm like, I didn't think I needed to go to North Carolina to get to Charleston. But yeah, so I was wrong. Thankfully, my map was correct. And it was a great weekend. It was a great weekend. And so if anybody is interested in this organization, and I don't mean just for donating money, but if you would like to be a part of it, do us a favor and look it up. The name of the organization is the Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem. Before you get into the asking of it, no, this is not some sort of a secret fraternity. There's no secret handshakes, and no, we don't know where the gold is. All right, just so we're all clear on that. We don't claim any kind of direct lineage to the original Templars from the Crusades. We do hold true to their ethos, however, and we are the only group of knights not connected to a distinct denomination of Christendom that is actually recognized by both NATO and the UN. So we actually have a lot of partners from, I think it's 44 other countries, and we are doing amazing work around the world. So whenever I came up with the name Cajun Knight, just so we're clear, yes, I've not been shy about the fact that I do the knight fighting, but also whenever I talk about me holding a noble title, this is an internationally recognized noble title. Like, yes, I could get it on my driver's license, but I'm not, because I'm not a pretentious dick like that. But like, you totally could if you wanted to, I suppose. And it is recognized any of the countries that we're a part of. And if those countries are NATO or UN nations, they also acknowledge that. And we have a constant seat on both of those organizations for humanitarian aid work. But beside the point, so it was a great weekend, and I got to see people from around the country that I haven't seen in a year. And we got to talking about things, and I am now, that we were talking about before we started recording here, passion projects, right? And how so many of the passion projects that we have in our lives get put by the wayside because we have umpteen different things that we're doing in our regular day-to-day lives. So in the mix of all of that, I have taken on yet another passion project, and I will be releasing, and it won't be on this channel or any of the other channels here. I will be releasing a podcast probably twice a month, where I will be bringing on priors from other priories, which I guess the other equivalent to this would be like captains from other chapters, or presidents from other chapters, if you will. And we will be talking about what they've got going on in their priory, and what's the latest, what's the updates, what's the new outreach program that y'all like super jazzed up about. I've got a guy who has exclusive archaeological dig rights to a Templar stronghold in Israel, and he bought the rights to that a couple of years ago, but because of the war, the archaeology side of things kind of took a dip. So he is actually going to be bringing his team to that area because it's been deemed safe where this specific spot is, and he is going to be digging, looking for Templar artifacts, and I'm super excited to see what that brings up. I got another organization that is going out of its way and like actually putting boots on the ground, not just signing a check, not just sending money to somebody, actually putting boots on the ground, talking about some kicking in of doors and shit to stop and fight against child trafficking. right? I got another organization. Some of the women in the organization, as a matter of fact, yes, we're co-ed. We have men and women. They just went to a big UN summit and then followed up with a big NATO summit where they have now partnered with other nations of women from other nations, and they are fighting for women's rights in other countries. Not in America. Obviously, in America, we have a very equidistant, male to female situation, but honor killings, forced marriage, the situations that are going on with women and children in some of these really, really crazy places around the world, they're actually really putting fuel in that fire, and they are leading the charge on that. And I'm super fucking proud of these women. I've got another organization out in California that are helping churches from around the country get money from the U.S. government, because the U.S. government has grant money that they can send to any church if they just fill out the paperwork to receive it, and as long as it's for security purposes. Well, how many parking lots in these churches, these gravel parking lots, could be a solid asphalt parking lot? And there's a million reasons why that would be a safer environment, therefore, for the church's security. And their whole thing is to teach these pastors and priests around the country how to fill out this paperwork so that they can get the funding from the U.S. government. There's amazing work going on, right? And yes, of course, there's the canned food drives. And yes, of course, there's the, my organization in New Orleans here, we just partnered up with another group that's doing funerals for stillbirths. That sounded weird. Births, stillborn babies that their families are typically don't have a lot of money and they can't afford a nice funeral for their stillborn child. So in New Orleans, they have the mausoleums, and you're stacking 8 or 9 bodies into one mausoleum. Well, we have partnered with another organization locally that is doing a big, grandiose ceremony for these little ones that never got to experience life, but do deserve a proper, dignified burial. And it's a good sign of closure for the families as well. That we have this organization, y'all, is so incredible, and it's so many people who have the means to do more, and they're doing it for the right reasons. I'm honored to be a part of it. So this past weekend, I'm sitting around with a bunch of retired generals, Fortune 500s people, business people from all over the country, retired admirals. And we're just kind of talking, and I realized that the only time we ever really sit and exchange ideas of what's working in California, what's working in Philly, what's working in, Ohio, all these places, is at these once a year big meetings. And that's great. And I love it. However, I think it's time that we up the ante a bit and we start putting this out there at least once, if not twice a month, just to share the word, of what's going on, what is, going great for y'all, to talk about the victories and successes. So on top of everything else that I have going on in my life, I am also going to be taking on that passion project. And I'm not going to really promote it on the Cult of Conspiracy too much. Every now and then I might make a slide little, a little plug here and there. But it's not for that purpose. It's mostly for other members and also to be like a recruiting tool. But yeah, that's what I was up to this whole past weekend. It was a good time in Charleston, North Carolina, not Charlotte. See, I fucked up. It's Charlotte, North Carolina, not Charleston, South Carolina, because I know maps. I know things. Anyway, so I do apologize for missing this past week. If I'm not mistaken, I might be missing next week. I will keep y'all posted. I'm gonna post the thing onto the Cajun Night if I am. I don't know because I'm also going on another trip up north, and I think I'm supposed to be available for Wednesday night specifically for this. If not, we might shoot this on another night. Either way it goes, I am going to keep y'all in the loop for what's going on in my life, because I thoroughly enjoy these get-togethers, honestly. And yes, Royce, before you ask, Jews can also be members. So matter of fact, in New Orleans, one of our guys is a Jewish dude, and he is a member of what we call the Order of Merit, which is one of our, like a brother, but still under the same umbrella type of thing. So, could totally be in it if you wanted. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat real quick. There was a couple of things that I'm sure people shared. Oh, hold on. There was a YouTube video. That ain't the one, I'm assuming. Is it? 13 junkyard fires. What? Okay. Who sent this? BP. Yo, talk to me, dog. What is this?
I've just seen a few things online about junkyard fires. Not too much. I can keep looking for you. That's why I'm looking right now.
Well, I'm trying to figure out because it seemed like in the beginning there was this like an ad the whole time, but I'm not sure what this is. But you know what? Yeah, we're definitely going to watch that. This is in closes 700 stores. Hold on, is this in California? Where is this?
That's just one video I found. I'm still looking for more right now. But
Okay.
essentially, what I've learned so far is that it seems to be that they're trying to take away more of our junkyard so that we can't, take care of our own cars and whatnot. That's what it looks like.
I would agree with that statement. I absolutely believe so, which is why I think they've also waged a war on teaching kids how to do shit with their hands. Honestly, just how to build things and how to repair things. They don't want that. And we talked about that on an episode on the Cult of Conspiracy about planned obsolescence. They want things to break after so many uses so that you're forced to buy more and spend more money. But I mean, dude, honestly, especially the junkyards and pull aparts, I can't tell you how much money that has saved me over the years. But yes, I got the video pulled up. We will absolutely talk about it here in a bit. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. If you are listening to this and want to see the videos, you need to go to the link in the description below to patreon.com/Cajun Night. It's the only place to get these videos. It's the only place to get these shows commercial free, as we always say, but it's also, the best place to be a part of the conversation. Come join us every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central. I hope to see you there. Now, let's get into this. Let's start off here. This is from The Guardian. I know there's some people that love The Guardian, some people that hate The Guardian, but let's just see what the flavoring of this article is, and then we will decide, how we feel about it as a whole. Anyway, let's go. I had to move my mic stand. I didn't want to blow y'all's ears out whenever I did that. So the U.S. House passes war powers resolution to curb Trump's authority in Iran. Very interesting. Stunning rebuke to president as lawmakers vote 215 to 208 for measure forcing him to seek congressional approval. Now, this is a little unprecedented, right? Because whenever there's a operation, right, whether that's Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation, Global War on Terror, whatever the case, unless it's not a real war because he has to get congressional approval before he can declare war on somebody. However, he needs no congressional oversight for what's the word? Operations. It's just an operation, it's just one of these military operations. It's a quick thing. Even if it takes 22 years, it's a quick thing, And it's also interesting this being done because, and I should have pulled an article up on this one. The U.S. Army is out of money, like for the year. They've already blown through their entire budget and they're not even 6 months through yet. And that's a bit of a problem because as Trump was just getting approvals and all these things for a higher budget, and we just talked about that a couple of weeks ago, right? It was the largest budget increase the Department of Defense, now Department of War, has seen ever, period, ever. The U.S. Army ran out of money that quick. And I don't know this for a fact. I don't think it's because they were being, spendthrifts with their money. I think that they were actually just using it for training and everything, and it ran out. But yeah, there's some real things to be said about that. But anyway, all right, let's talk about this. The U.S. House of Representatives delivered a stunning rebuke to Donald Trump over his war on Iran on Wednesday, as representatives backed a move to force him to seek approval from Congress to withdraw U.S. forces from Congress or withdraw. I think that meant to be to withdraw U.S. forces. The House voted 215 to 208 in favor of the War Powers Resolution as 4 Republicans voted with Democrats. I have a weird feeling that those Republicans are probably not going to win the midterms because of how he's been doing things and aligning himself and making a cult of personality around him. The dissonant Republicans were Thomas Massie, shocker, Brian Fitzpatrick, Warren Davidson, and Tom Barrett. So that's from Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, respectively. Yeah, I feel like Trump's going to do everything in his power to go against them and fund whoever is running against them in the midterms. Actually, I would be very willing to bet a good number, like a good number of money on that. But anyway, so Wednesday's vote came nearly 2 weeks after House Republicans canceled an earlier scheduled vote on the grounds that they lacked the votes to defeat it. The vote sends the resolution to the Senate. A handful of Senate Republican defectors joined Democrats last month to advance a similar resolution, forcing Trump to seek congressional approval after 4 Republican senators rebelled and voted with the Democrats. Boy, more and more of them Republicans are just kind of turning to the other side because they're waking up to the fact that Trump is kind of out of his mind right now, you know? And this is coming from somebody who is in favor of us fucking up Iran. Like, let's keep that in mind. I know some people think that it's not our problem and we shouldn't have interjected. And to be honest, there's a lot of validity to that. I'm not a huge fan of the Ayatollah. So like, and just for my own personal reasons, this isn't me trying to be a statesman. This is just Jacob being Jacob. I got no problems with us like absolutely knocking the shit out of him. However, there's a difference in a military operation and whatever the hell this is, right? Like, for instance, if the beeper situation, the pager situation that the Mossad, remember that a couple years ago? All these pagers actually had explosive devices inside of them, and they were only being given to known members of the terrorist organization of Hezbollah. And then they decided to pull the trigger, and all of them went off at the same time. And somehow the president of Iran had one, and there was even a picture of him with a pager next to him. And it's like, why would he have that if he wasn't a Hezbollah affiliate? Well, that's because he was, right? That, and it's only hurting the bad guys. I got no problems here. I'm super cool with that. And if y'all were going to go in like Maduro style and bag and tag the dude in the middle of the night and there'd be no innocent civilians injured, dope. I'm super here for this. Yeah, and even this massive bombing campaign, like, okay, Iran's navy is at the bottom of the ocean. The only thing they have now is like fast movers and basically Zambonis, right? Or not Zambonis, Zambonis of the dam. The ice smoothers for like ice rinks and shit, not those. Starts with a Z. You know what I'm talking about, the little inflatable, the fast movers. So they got some of those. They have a few planes that weren't hit. They still have a bunch of rockets, not many launchers left. So like, okay, their military is decimated. Cool. So it's time to go home, right? Like we did our job. They were still holding the Strait of Hormuz because it was mine. And then through a pissing contest, now it's open, but then we closed it through a blockade, and now it's open again, but only to these types of boats. And now it's, you see my point? You see my point, y'all? It's annoying. We're past the point of everybody thinking this is a good idea. And now even certain Republicans are starting to think like, hey, maybe we should pull the reins back on our boy Donnie T a little bit. Continuing on, following this direct quote, following repeated attempts to get sycophants, in the Republican-controlled House to join us, House Democrats successfully passed our War Powers resolution today to stand up for the American people and to hold Donald Trump accountable. The top 3 House Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, Catherine Clark, and Pete Aguilar, that's from New York, Massachusetts, and California, respectively, said in a joint statement, "It is now time for Senate Republicans to do the right thing." Okay. As I'm saying that, perhaps I spoke too soon, because if we're on the same side as Hakeem Jeffries, then like we might need to reevaluate. Maybe Trump's actually right about the whole thing. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I'm joking, y'all. Anyway, it was the 4th time the House had voted on a resolution to rein in Trump's power to continue the conflict, which has now been running for more than 90 days. The 90-day threshold is important because the 1973 War Powers Resolution lays down that the president must seek congressional approval to continue waging war after hostilities have continued for that length of time. The White House has rejected that argument, citing a temporary ceasefire that has been in place since April 8th. Damn, they got him on the technicality, although it has been broken several times by the U.S., Israel, and Iran. Well, obviously. But the fact that it was agreed upon, right? What's on paper, what's signed, it might be a legality, it might be a shitty loophole, but a loophole nonetheless. I don't know. The vote's impact is largely symbolic, as it is unclear whether the House version, which is a concurrent resolution that does not need to be signed by the president, carries the force of law, even if it also passes in the Senate. But it was a striking demonstration of the nascent willingness among a segment of Republicans to defy Trump, who has kept a vice-like grip on the party on Capitol Hill, though his willingness to exact retribution against dissenters. Yeah, through his willingness, which is very true, right? We talked about this before. Thomas Massey just lost his position. So is it January of next year that his replacement will take over? I don't know how the state of Kentucky does. I'm not sure if it's January, February. I know it's going to be at the beginning of next year. So, yeah. So I think he's also doing this on purpose too. Like, okay, I might be leaving, but y'all going to be talking about me long after I'm gone. And I mean, I don't dislike the guy that's replacing him. I don't know much about him. I don't know much about his politics, except for the fact that he's a forever Trumper. Okay. But aside from that, because Trump's going to be out of office and this dude's going to still be there. So, aside from him being a retired SEAL, I don't know much else about him. I don't know if he's going to be good for the nation or if this was just a ploy to try to flex Trump's dick. I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that he's taking the job seriously and that this won't blow up in the American, population's faces, especially Kentucky. But I guess time will have to tell on that. But anyway, sorry, end of rant. The latest vote comes as efforts aimed at reaching a negotiated settlement to the 3-month conflict have yet to bear fruit, despite repeated claims by Trump and his most senior officials that an agreement is almost negotiated, and that Iran is desperate to reach a deal. Desperate to reach a deal. So on the one hand, I could see that as a very viable possibility. Right? Maybe Iran is tired of the bombs. Maybe they are ready to go home. To be at peace. They're already home. You know what I'm saying? Possibly. Is it also possible that Iran is going to be like old Randy Marsh in that one episode of South Park? Hey, I didn't hear no bell. I don't know. I could see it really shaking out either way on this one, but we will see now that they are voting to limit Trump's ability and reach on this war. I guess we're going to really see the true colors of this one come out. I don't know. Anyway, moving forward. Sporadic hostilities have been taking place amid a shaky ceasefire that has been in place since early April, while Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway through which a fifth of the world's oil supplies typically travel. And the U.S. has implemented a naval blockade against Iranian vessels. So yeah, that was a whole thing. They blocked the strait. No trade can get through because Iran says so. Then they said, okay, fine, we'll open up the strait to some of our homies. But then America blockaded the strait anyway. So it was 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other as far as what trade is being done. And that was weeks ago. I'm not saying everything's back to normal now by any means, but it depends on the day, because I keep hearing reports saying that the strait is open, but only to people flying a certain flag or for certain types of ships, i.e. oil. And I don't know. Give it another 12 hours, the narrative will shift again, whether, our ship's open good and the shipping lanes are open, or has someone else done something or found something to fuck it up for everybody else. I don't know. Continuing on. Polls have consistently shown low public support for the war amid fear among Republicans that anger over rising fuel costs that it has triggered will cost the party in November's congressional midterm elections. Yeah, I think that's a very fair statement. Trump has already attacked and punished Republicans who have criticized the war. Massey lost a party primary last month to an ally of the president who had been encouraged to run by Trump, who was angered by Massey's leading role in pressing the Justice Department to release files on Jeffrey Epstein. See, here's my problem with that. That shouldn't anger anyone, right? That should be a very net positive thing. We should all want the entire unredacted files from the Epstein list, all the things to be released to the public. The fact that there's somebody who's angered by Massey, who was leading the charge to try to make sure that the Epstein files got fully released, that is probably one of the biggest red flags I can find here. So, anyway, moving forward here, Wednesday's vote comes as Capitol Hill Republicans have shown more willingness to defy Trump in recent days. Republicans in the Senate have forced the president to withdraw a demand for $1 billion in security funding for his White House ballroom project and to abandon a proposed $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, quote unquote, that would have seen Trump's political allies, including offenders convicted over the Jan 6th assault on the Capitol assault. That was one of the most peaceful assaults ever to be ever. Awarded compensation at taxpayers' expenses. Yeah, they should be, for the record. I'm not saying that because I'm a conservative. I'm saying that because you could look at how the riots went in any other place in America versus the Jan 6 riot. And one of these led to cities burned, cop cars being flipped over, a lot of property damage. And the other one led to very minimal damage and the people taking some pictures and going on a self-guided tour of the Capitol. Yeah, we're having two different conversations here. But anyway. And yeah, they're talking about this old ballroom project, which the whole situation of him getting the quote unquote assassination attempt by the autistic mulatto gentleman. What's his name? I already forgot. It's not important. He's a piece of shit. Who tried Naruto running through Secret Service. Y'all have seen the videos. It's funny. But anyway, that whole situation is going to be the justification for having a safe place to hold these events, i.e. the White House ballroom. I already know that was what that was about. But anyway, all right, before we get to the next article, I'm going to read some of these chats that we got going on here. The U.S. Treasury has seized or at least immobilized $1 billion in USDT held by Iranians. Yeah, Tony, I heard about this. We talked about it yesterday on the live. So, okay. Like, what's the point, right? So, okay, cool. You have seized $1 billion in cryptocurrency, Tether, held by Iranians. And we know that because of what? How can we track that? How can we verify that?
Well, I couldn't really verify it, but that's what Scott Bessent claims, and that's
Right.
what one of his underlings tells him. But USDT stands for US dollar tether. It's just a cryptocurrency that's worth exactly $1 no matter what. And people like to use it to trade other crypto or convert between them because I guess it's better for tax implications if you don't convert straight to dollars. In fact, I myself have done it, but I dabble in it very little. And I guess abroad, especially in sanctioned countries, the incentive to use cryptocurrency is way higher than it is here because, especially if it's a very private one, you can get away with evading U.S. Treasury rules. But USDT is run by some company that just does whatever the Treasury Department asks them to, and it is way more centralized rather than a decentralized one like Bitcoin or Monero or there's others that emphasize more of a commitment to privacy and not giving in to governments. So
Right.
if you have dollar tether, the U.S. government could take it from you. I have a little bit, but I'm not so worried. If I were living in Iran, though, I probably would want Monero or something else.
But that's the point, right? So Tether being a 1-to-1 ratio with the US dollar, I get it. People from around the world having it as a way to transfer and have their money be what it is on the US market. Like, okay, I get all of these things. But and again, maybe this is me being conspiratorial. I don't know. But this sure sounds like one of those, oh, look at how much of a win we just had when it's something that nobody can verify. Right. And, I'm sure they could pull up some sort of a record and all of this, but isn't that the whole point of crypto is to have end-to-end encryption and nobody really knows where it came from or who it came from or whatever else. So let's say that this was accurate and they did seize $1 billion of the USDT in Iran. Are we sure that this was from bad guys? For one, or do we just taking it from Iranians and we're just gonna it's like the cops that will make a drug bust and it's like a few joints, one pistol, and they'll take $1,000 in ones and spread it out across the table like they just made this massive bust. In reality, it's like this didn't do shit or fuck for your goals. I feel like this is that.
Yeah, it's like civil asset forfeiture. Um, but yeah, in Bitcoin, there's been proposals to prevent Bitcoin, to kind of steal Bitcoin. The US government can't steal Bitcoin. Nobody can do it, including the US government, but they can create a blacklist, basically a blacklist and a whitelist, and just say any bank or exchange is not allowed to accept Bitcoin from these particular addresses. And I guess they've already done that with USDT. I'm still trying to figure it out. They've been trying to do this with Bitcoin too for a long time. But if you're already just abroad anyway and you're not using US linked banks, then you have nothing to worry about for Bitcoin. But you do have something to worry about if you have USDT.
Yeah. No, I agree. But that's the other thing too, right? So even with the USDT conversation, I don't I don't understand how this is. I understand what they're trying to do, and maybe there is a portion of the population in America that's going to take this and be like, "Oh wow, they're really cracking down on them." Blah, blah, blah. But like, if you're trying to hurt the Iranians, you blow up their oil fields, right? Like you hit them where it hurts. I don't believe that this $1 billion of seized crypto is really going to make a dent in the overall Iranians' pocketbook. I could be very wrong here. I'm just having a hard time seeing it.
Yeah, not much, but there's a bit of a balancing act that has to be done whenever one country is at war or conquering another country. Do you be nice to the local population and hope that they'll overthrow their leadership for you? Or do you be mean to them to show them that their current leadership is unable to protect them and unworthy of their support? And both of these things are constantly in tension. This goes back before the Battle of Hastings to the Romans. Sometimes you're nice, sometimes you're not nice. And very often you're both. You're just ambivalent. It depends on the day.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know, man. I feel like this whole situation. And listen, I've said for years, and I'm not shy about this, that like we were at peace for too long, man. America doesn't do good at peace. Historically speaking, we're a warring nation. We like to be fucking up somebody for some reason because that seems to be the only time we actually are winning. And we were at peace for a real chunk for a minute there. Now, I'm not saying that we need to start picking fights for no reason. I think there's a lot of people around the world that need some help and some bad guys that need killing. And like, I got this. But if we're going to do it for that purpose, let's do it for that purpose. Let's be open and honest about what's going on. Hitting Venezuela for the oil, at which they acknowledged, I could appreciate the honesty. That's a change of pace. However, there was other shitheads that needed it more. The Ayatollah, and I know you and I very much disagree on the Ayatollah. I think he's a shithead. You support him. I get that. But like, if that's the goal here, okay, then let's just say that's what we're doing here. We're seizing the assets and doing all this other shit. Like, okay, is this going to become a moral thing, or are we doing it for the oil? Which, if you look at what the Strait of Hormuz is doing right now, it's like that's clearly what this is about too. And I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm tired of them pretending like it's not all against China. Like that's the entire point of all of this is because they're playing a juggling game to try to fuck over Xi, and they're making it seem like it's not for that. It's the same thing with like I don't know. I guess the Cold War, like Korea, Vietnam. This was all against communism. They claimed it was for other reasons, but that was it. I don't know.
Okay. It hasn't really hurt China as much as the China hawks want, because China only gets 20% of its energy from petroleum, whereas South Korea and Japan get 40%. China also has something like a 200-day security buffer, a strategic reserve, and the others, I don't know what they are off the top of my head. My numbers could even be wrong, but we've ended up hurting our East Asian allies more than we've hurt China. And we can't really bomb the Iranian oil infrastructure. We can, but then they would retaliate against the Saudi and the others way worse, and including the desalination facilities. So this is an escalation trap or something like that. This is the kind of thing. It's like the reason that the English didn't use chemical weapons on the Germans in World War II is they were afraid of the German chemical weapons. So sometimes you just don't want to provoke something like that.
No, I 100% agree with you. And you're right. China relies on, I mean, don't get me wrong, they rely on some fossil fuels, but I think there's a pretty solid argument to say they rely on coal more than they rely on petroleum products. And even if the petroleum was their main source, they are still homies with Russia, and they have a land border. They don't have to worry about imports from Iran. They could pipe the shit straight from Siberia. This isn't rocket science.
Yeah, this is a bit of a tangent, but I saw a video 2 weeks ago about how China's got 1,100 garbage to energy power plants, 1,100 of them. And for $7 per ton of garbage, they look at the metal and other heteroatoms out of it as much as they can, and then they'll burn the garbage and generate kilowatt hours out of it. It's pretty efficient.
Granted, that's not like super great for the atmosphere. However, game recognized game, and I appreciate that they're able to do something with the garbage and use it to fuel their shit. I see this as kind of a net positive. I mean, there's also like scrubber units you could put on the exhaust and like make your own thing with that too. But I don't know. I don't know what China's EPA looks like, or the lack thereof. But either way it goes, you're right. They are pretty resilient when it comes to one thing shut down to the other one. But even if it's not for the fuel infrastructure, if it is in fact for the Belt and Road Initiative, right? And that's what it's all about, because we're trying to fuck over China on a business sense, maybe not on a fuel sense, but even still, there's a better way to go about this, at least from my perspective. I don't know.
Okay, and last thing I'll say is that this isn't for China. This isn't for the Iranian people. This was primarily to give Israel room to go to war with Lebanon while the rest of the world had something else to focus on. And Israel has gotten about 20% of Lebanon. I'm less than 50% sure they'll be driven out. I think they've got a pretty good hold on it now.
Is it to 20%?
Yeah, the southern 20% of it, up to the Litani River, about 1 million people evacuated, and it was something like 70 towns evacuated, and a lot of it's been bulldozed now.
Yeah.
So those people have nothing to come home to. Hezbollah keeps flying drones into whatever IDF units they can find. Sometimes they're people, sometimes they're trucks or tanks. But I think Israel's probably there to stay now. They're probably not going to be driven out.
Yeah, Israel isn't big on giving land back. There was that one time, right? Was it 08? Maybe
2005. They had settlements in Gaza, and in 2005 they pulled all of their Jewish settlers out of Gaza by force.
Yeah. Why do I feel like it was like in the West Bank too? There was something where like there was Israeli people that were living there, and then they forced them out, like you're talking about, and they were so pissed. And the world could not believe that Israel was giving land to Palestine. This is fucking insane. Who was prime minister at that time? Was that all? That wasn't Ehud Barak, huh?
I'm pretty sure it was Ariel Sharon.
Ariel Sharon. That's it. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, they pulled them out of Gaza, but allowed them to move into the West Bank part.
Okay, that might be what I'm thinking. Yeah.
In 2005. I was in high school.
So, yeah, with that being said, yeah, I don't believe that Israel's going to be giving Lebanon its land back. They don't really do that. And I guess we'll see where they push next, because, I mean, at this point, sky's the limit, right? As long as we're there to kind of do something against these other people, they're able to push into wherever they want. But now the situation with Trump and Netanyahu, that is heating up. He's calling them all these names. Netanyahu just a few weeks ago said that he wants to cut off American funding over the next decade. He wants to just completely have Israel take care of themselves. I mean, I don't know. I've never thought I'd see a day where that was happening, but here we are.
Yeah, I read the same stories. My take on this is Trump and his people are strategically leaking this fight with the F-bombs and everything to make it look like Trump isn't really just bossed around by Netanyahu, but I think he is. And as for the foreign aid of the $3.8 billion a year that Randy Fine has been asking for it to go to zero since like a year ago. However, they are getting increased military cooperation between the U.S. military and the IDF. The Congress has been, they passed something to that effect just a week or two ago. I could look it up and post it here and maybe get back to you on that.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because, man, there has been some content creators, and I'm using that term loosely. What's that blonde bitch off the Young Turk that's got the shrill, annoying voice?
Anna Kasparian.
That's the one. How did I? You know the fucking one. She's like the liberal version of Tommy Lahren, right? It's a whole thing. But anyway, her and a couple of other content creators that I saw here just in the last 30 minutes, just scrolling feeds, just seeing things. Apparently, the U.S. and Israel have reinstated some sort of new ties. There's some new co-op going on and all these things. And it's like, okay, they brought up some article, 122 or whatever these things, right? And okay, here's the deal. For the level of co-op that they are insinuating, like wait till they find out that NATO like exists and that all of these nations work in conjunction with each other when the time comes. It's nothing new, at least as far as the United States military and the IDF is concerned. There may be, you know, I don't even know. There's not like a new renegotiation of anything. I remember hearing a year ago that if a American goes and serves in the IDF for whatever reason, then comes back home and serves like let's say he does a 4-year stint in the IDF, then comes home and spends the next 16 years in the American military, the U.S. will honor the time spent in the IDF as far as their 20-year retirement pension goes. I looked into that more. I didn't find anything to say that was verified, but there was people that were going off about this about a year ago. And now cut to this. It's like I don't know. I understand that people are really hating on Israel right now, specifically because of Netanyahu. And I could agree with that. Got you. But the levels that they think they keep thinking they're finding the smoking gun. It's like, this is the thing. Here it is. And it's like, you're digging up old paperwork that we've had on file since like 1949. But all right. It's a flex, I guess.
Well, another complaint I hear a lot is that police departments, including the FBI, will send U.S. Officers over to Israel to train on stuff like how to interrogate people. And I hear a lot of complaints that, they learned some pretty brutal stuff over there.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's true.
I could imagine that. But I mean, it's all right. So to that perspective, as far as like the brutality and how Israel does things different than America. So over the weekend, I was I was talking with a buddy of mine who does, he works in to try to keep it as correct and unredacted as possible. Let's say he works in the private security field. All right, let's just leave it like that. And he is currently teaching at a couple of different schoolhouses around the country, and he is about to oversee the opening of another one somewhere up north. I want to say Indiana, but I also could be speaking out of turn. Doesn't matter. And for the opening class, he's got a couple of guys that are coming together, and they're going to be training this new group. Cool. And he let them know, by the way, they run this school in the Israeli way. And my other buddy who also works in that field was like, oh, got you. All right, I'm down. And I'm just like, okay, fish out of water here. What difference does that make? What do you mean? And he's like, they're a little more hands-on. And I'm like, we're talking about private security school. This isn't like for some crazy spec ops, some CIA shit, nothing like that. So like, what do you, I'm not trying to like get up in your business, but explain to me what you mean. He's like, okay, I'll put it like this. In American training, when you have like your new recruits on the firing line, firing weapons at the range, cool. And you have to have a correction made. You don't like get in their face because this kid's got a loaded weapon, right? I'm like, yeah, for sure. You would like make sure the weapon is empty, pull them off the line and then shoot their ass, obviously. He's like, right. The Israelis don't do that. They slap the fuck out of dudes on the firing line. Like they don't care. I'm like, ooh, okay. He's like, yeah, like for me personally, if I've only known this kid for 2 weeks and I need to correct him and he has a loaded weapon in his hand, maybe I'll be a little more careful about how I approach him. The Israelis don't actually give a fuck. They are a lot more hands-on. And I'm like, Got you. So, to your point, when it comes to like interrogation tactics or even just there's so many levels to that, so many levels to the training that they would get. And if you had police officers in America or even national, like let's say U.S. Marshals or some shit that would cross train with the IDF. Yeah, I could believe that. 100%.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this whole cooperation thing, I just looked it up. Buried in the House's version of the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, released on Tuesday, is Section 224 entitled, quote, United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative, end quote. And there's articles about it on Responsible Statecraft and others.
Defense Technology Co-op? That's what the liberals are losing their shit over? We're talking about spying on people, which they're spying on us as we speak. Like, all right.
Yeah, there's more out there if anyone wants to look into it more, but that's what they're complaining about. And it's not even that big of a surprise. The U.S.-Israeli alliance, or whatever you want to call it, it's been slowly building up stronger and stronger every year, every decade. I'd say that way back in the days of Truman, Eisenhower, Nixon, you could find those presidents saying some rather negative things about Israel sometimes, but I would say that Israel criticism from the U.S. government has gotten lower and lower with each passing year up until about maybe 3 or 2 years ago. We'll finally get guys like Thomas Massey explicitly saying and joking about, the Israel lobby. And that just wasn't a thing to my memory at all. It wasn't mainstream enough for sitting congressman to talk about it.
I agree. It's
like James Traficant, and now he was in the 90s, and then he mysteriously died. You could do an episode on that if you wanted to.
I'm writing that down because I forgot about him. James Traficant. Wow. Of course, I need a pin. James Traficant. Oh, here we go.
Let me just put it in the chat, and you can talk about something else.
No, you're good, dude. If I don't write it down now, I'm gonna forget it. But anyway, no, I agree with you. And I don't know. A lot of politicians for the longest time were very much just, even if they're Republican, Democrat, whatever side of the political spectrum they were on, everybody agreed we have to support Israel. And now it's to a point where they're like, do we though?
Yeah, it's like the pendulum has gone as far as it'll go.
Yeah, really. And it is starting to swing back the opposite direction, meaning that when it goes to the other polar extreme, I mean, and I don't know if this is in the next 10 years, the next 50, the next 100, I don't know. But are we talking about potentially a U.S.-Israel war? I don't know, but that would be
Gog and
wild.
Magog?
There was a novel about the Texas-Israeli War of 1999.
The Texas-Israeli War.
It's a novel that was written in the 70s.
I've never heard of
just Google
such.
it. You'll find it.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's great.
I'll do it. That way you don't have to.
That sounds like actually a pretty badass book, if for nothing else, just for like the historical fiction of it all, But anyway, continuing with the chat, the Kuwait airport has been hit. Yeah, I got something pulled up on that one. I actually had it on my phone, forgot to airdrop it. So thank you for showing that one, Tony. I'm going to get to that one here in a minute. Kentucky still needs to do the general election in November, like everyone else. Then they can take office in January. Yeah, no doubt. I'm reading that about 50 ships have been getting through paying the toll / environmental fee. Yeah, and that was a whole stickler of it, right? That was the whole reason for the American blockade was that, you can't charge these ships, so we're going to stop them anyway, and all this and this. And now it's like, meh.
Yeah, that was more of a thing in April, I felt like. And in May, at least on June 2nd, the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, this is the next post, so you don't need to read, has released statistics claiming that 300 non-Iranian ships have passed through the strait. 42% were oil tankers, 27% bulk carriers, and that was most of it. They were going to UAE, Qatar, Iraq, and Kuwait. Ships going out mostly went to China, other Asian countries, and Europe. And that's the end of it.
No doubt. Absolutely. And then BP showed that there are a lot of junkyards on fire. And he sent a link for at least, there was a YouTube video that he sent, and I don't know how in-depth the video goes. We'll play that one here in a minute. But Oh God, I'm going to try to pronounce some of these things. Apalaka, Florida. That's the most Florida sounding name of a city I've ever heard. Apalaka, Florida. Jesus Christ. Southington, Connecticut, Camden, New Jersey, Missoula, Montana, North Philly, Kansas City, Kewanee, I don't know, Illinois, Emmanuel County Junkyard in Georgia. He's still finding more, but all of these have happened in the last week. Yeah, very fishy. Very fishy. I agree with you. Midnight Kong sent a video. This video is about the government trying to find a sly way to ban handguns due to small parts in all striker-fired pistols illegal. Glock switch stuff. Oh, yeah, no, we're clicking on that one. We are absolutely clicking on that one. Oh, let me guess, there's going to be an ad. And there's got to be an ad. There's always a fucking ad, y'all. I'm just saying, come check us out on Patreon because, trust me, it's the best way to get this without the bullshit. Just throwing it out here. My internet keeps dropping back for now. Joys of living in a cabin in the woods. Yo, Nelson, Flavors of the Forest. I feel that. All of you listening, please go to flavorsoftheforest.com and use the promo code CULT at checkout. Get you some Bigfoot breath. I love this shit. I literally was eating pizza earlier. I doused my shit with the lion's mane. It is so good. Anyway, yeah, there's James Trafficant. Spirit Animal is in the house. Go ahead, Sam. Tell us what's on your mind. I see your hand raised.
So they're going to try to ban the handguns. Do they not realize shall not be infringed is a fucking thing that's taken serious? And, like, they've been infringing it since the 20s. But, like, if they would I truly believe they're going to try to do something. And if people give up their arms willingly, we'll be just like the UK. And at that point, we have lost our balls as a society. And we will not be able to defend ourselves against the invasion, which already is currently underway here.
I mean, granted, handguns are not going to be the thing that saves us if we have to, like, defend ourselves against some foreign entity. I get that. However, it's how you protect your person, right? And I even have this poster, and it shows, like, what guns you need and for what purpose. And I don't believe this is a just in the South thing or just in the what. I believe every person, yes, males, but every person needs this. Handgun, personal protection. Shotgun, home protection. Regular bolt action rifle for putting food on the table. And some type of let's call it a fun gun for protection against tyranny. I believe everybody should at least have these basic 4 weapons in their arsenal. And I'm not judging those that don't. And I'm certainly not judging those that have more. But, like, why don't you have a cannon? I don't yet, but, like, why don't you? You could have one. There's no actual licenses required in any 50 states to own a functioning cannon. You do with that information what you want. But, yeah, no, I agree. We'll see what happens with this whole handgun thing. We're going to play that YouTube video here in just a minute. But before we get to that, I did want to talk about Kuwait. So this is live updates. This is from CBS. I understand the source is bullshit, but let's see what they're talking about here. So Israel and Lebanon agreed to renew a ceasefire as Iran launches deadly attack on Kuwait airport. So for those that didn't hear, Kuwait said on Wednesday that an Iranian missile and drone attack hit its international airport, killing 1 person and wounding dozens more. As the ceasefire between America and the Iran and the U.S. looked increasingly fragile after yet another exchange of fire. Iran claims it launched a retaliatory attack on U.S. military bases in Kuwait after another set of airstrikes by American forces, which CENTCOM called, quote, self-defense strikes.
It's a dangerous procedure to do in this case.
Oh, gotcha, Nelson. You unmuted yourself, homie, but I got you back. Anyway, so it's saying that this was a retaliatory attack on these bases because of what America did, claiming it was self-defense strikes on Iranian military positions. Before the latest exchange of power, President Trump on Tuesday denied reports by Iranian state media that the regime in Tehran had suspended its indirect negotiations with the U.S. over Israel's ongoing war with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Trump insisted that talks were going on continuously. Israel and Lebanon agreed Wednesday to renew their fragile ceasefire and create a number of pilot security zones inside Lebanon where Hezbollah would be banned. Yeah, okay, we'll see how that goes. Now, Iran's foreign ministry says no tangible progress in the peace talks with the U.S. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, okay, said Wednesday that no tangible progress had been made in negotiations to end the Middle East war. Araghchi said lines of communication with the U.S. were still open, but warned that any Israeli attack on the Lebanese capital, Beirut, as part of its campaign against Iran-backed Hezbollah, would trigger a full-scale resumption of the conflict. So listen, I might sound like a complete asshole here, and my apologies if I come across as one, but I'm genuinely asking. All right. So Hezbollah is an understood, internationally recognized terrorist organization. It's like the IRA. Like it's internationally recognized as a terrorist organization. There's no way around that. Okay, cool. So if Iran is trying to change its image and show that they're not the bad guys that the world thinks that they are, wouldn't they possibly cut ties with a internationally understood terrorist organization as a way to show, hey, look, we got your message, you got our message. You want us to stop funding these fuckers? We'll do that. Let's have a peace talk. Let's have a ceasefire. Let's have a negotiation. Instead, that's like a whole thing. They refuse to stop funding the Houthi rebels. They refuse to stop funding Hezbollah. They refuse to stop being the number one funder of terrorism across the world. Like, why? I don't understand it. And I don't know this for a fact, but if they were to cut ties with these organizations, do you think that the rest of this conflict would be going on still, or do you think that we'd probably let alone and let the Ayatollah just do his thing and just walk away clean? I don't know.
Well, they're not going to, because I think their entire credibility, like the Iranian government's credibility, is on the line, and domestic support in Iran for giving aid to the Houthis and Hezbollah is huge. And
is it
the
though?
Iranian government? Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Is it though?
Sure it is.
I'm not trying to combat you on this. I'm asking you seriously. Just, you genuinely, in your heart of hearts, believe that most Iranian civilians want to promote Hezbollah and the Houthis?
Yeah, I definitely believe that. I could search up polls or something. We probably wouldn't, believe them anyway. But
depending on where they come from, maybe.
Yeah, they're Shiites, and the way they look at this is that the Israelis are the main problem in conquering Lebanon. It would be like watching the Nazis invade Russia and going, well, some of the people in Russia fighting against the Axis might be using terrorist tactics. And I think most Americans would look at that going, well, yeah, well, so what? The Nazis shouldn't be invading Russia anyway. They're causing this. They brought this on themselves.
I hear what you're saying. I would feel like it's more of a, how could I put this? So do you believe that the majority of Afghanistan supported Al-Qaeda?
No, but I believe they supported the Taliban.
Okay, Taliban, we could have that talk for sure, but Al-Qaeda specifically, the reason why America invaded Afghanistan in 2002 and all these things. Do you believe that most Afghanistans are like, oh yeah, we got to support them because they're the same type of Muslim we are and they're anti-West and all these things?
No, I would disagree there, because the Al-Qaeda people, they were middle and upper middle class Arabians. They didn't speak Pashtun or Uzbek or anything like there. They were kind of like mercenaries. They were, they were people who really just wanted to fight, and it's better to fight in somebody else's country and destroy their shit. So
agreed.
I think the Afghans did not really like those Arabs that much. Mullah Omar and Osama bin Laden had some kind of deal with each other, and then Mullah Omar didn't stab Osama bin Laden in the back fast enough for the U.S. not to invade, if my memory serves. So the U.S. went in there pretty quickly after 9/11. That's
a fair point, and I would agree. So in the same respect, I have a hard time believing that the Persians, who are Iranian, like that's really their nation, are in favor of the Arab conversation with supporting the terrorist groups.
Supporting Hezbollah and the Houthis.
And other organizations like that, yeah. Because I mean, and I don't know the statistics. We just looked it up a couple weeks ago. Are the Persians still the majority in Iran, or have they been overtaken by the Arabian invasion, so to speak?
Well, I've heard they're 40 or 50%, and the south of Iran is Arab, but they speak Farsi, and some of them are even black like Africans, a few of them. And then the northeast are Uzbeks and Tajiks, and the northwest are Kurds and Azeris.
And I got a real hard time believing the Uzbeks and the Tajikistanis, or the Tajiks, as you said. I got a hard time believing they're in favor of these groups.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the percent Shia Islam is probably like 80, 90% throughout the country, though.
But that's because of the government forcing it. That's state sanctioned. Most of the Persians can't even practice Zoroastrianism, which is their religion, because it's like a jail sentence.
Well, I mean, even 100 years ago, it was like 90+% Shia, though. It's not like, you have to go back 1,000 years before you find a lot of Zoroastrians.
No, dude, Freddie Mercury was a Zoroastrian.
Yeah, there's been a minority there in continuous existence up to now, but it's still been majority Shia for hundreds of years. Yeah, that was
Freddie Mercury was, but he was also from Tanzania, so perhaps that was a bit of a misleading statement. I said, but it's not the point. But yeah, okay. So back to the point. You do believe that the majority of the civilian population in Iran wants to support these groups?
Wants to support Hezbollah and the Houthis. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Damn, I'm gonna have to find some statistics on that. We're gonna have to talk about that one on a later date because I don't want to speak out of turn. But damn, okay. Sam, I see your hand raised, brother. What you got? And before you say anything, we're not glassing anyone. I already feel you talking about blowing some glass. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't do math, but I don't.
I meant like blowing glass, like the art form at Renfest. But yeah, that too. Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry, I did tinsmithing at Windfest, okay? But no, besides Moab, but no, I was thinking, why? All right, so the Al-Qaeda and Taliban, aren't they essentially one and the same? Just one, the Al-Qaeda is like the offshoot of it?
No. All right, so I'm going to try to give you the best breakdown of this when I can without getting way too deep into the weeds here. Al-Qaeda is not a grassroots organization from Afghanistan. The Taliban is.
What name, Mujahideen?
So, all right. The Mujahideen. All right. So you got to understand the Mujahideen kind of splintered off, and some went Taliban, some went Al-Qaeda. Because when the time came, these were trained fighters that were trying to find something to fight for. But here's the deal. Okay. Al-Qaeda itself. You know who Osama bin Laden is, right? Do you know that? Right. And he's also one of 50 siblings, right? And the rest.
All of them stay here now.
The rest of the bin Ladens are like the best. Like, I think there's maybe one other bad apple in the group, but the rest of them are like killing it as far as like being engineers and doctors and like heads of these corporations. Like, they're fucking great. Osama is the one shithead. Right. And the reason why that family has their money is because Daddy bin Laden is the only guy that could figure out how to build a highway across the desert. It basically was this engineering feat. And I'm way oversimplifying this. This engineering feat that no one else could figure out. And Daddy bin Laden had the genius and the foresight to make it happen. Boom. His family is on the map. He could fuck all these women and have 50 kids. All the things, all the stuff. Cool. Now, cut to.
Besides the goats? Besides the goats?
Nope. I actually don't think this man touched a single goat. Now, Osama might have, but I know Daddy bin Laden, no. 50 kids. Boy, he couldn't pull out of a driveway, and I'm pretty sure with that kind of slew of a harem around him, I don't think he had time for the goats, dog. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. He's a high-class broad, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, beside the point. So, all right, bin Laden himself, Osama bin Laden, okay, he has this terrorist organization, and if I'm not mistaken, he was a Mujahideen fighter in his youth. And then that's why the CIA had his designation as Tim Osman, and you can look that up too. He was a CIA asset. Cut to, he starts this group called Al-Qaeda, and it is a known terrorist organization. Now, completely separate conversation. The Taliban, and you got to understand, Afghanistan doesn't have what we might call national identity. they are a very small, closed, clandestine operation, right? Every village operates kind of on the same vibe, but every village, basically the old man in the village, that's the leader. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you get the 20 oldest dudes in the village, they make the shit happen, right? The Taliban was more or less the arm of the law, quote unquote, in Afghanistan, and they still are to this day. No, let's call it like the local militia, right? Think of the Wild West in America. If you needed some shit done, you would like call the posse and y'all would go off and do whatever needed to be done. Sometimes it was very justified. Sometimes it was very much not. But that's how the Taliban kind of does things. It's what they believe to be right by their law and all the things, which we could argue back and forth if it's justified and all the things, whatever, per their culture. The Taliban is kind of the arm of the law of that region of the world. Cut to, we go to Afghanistan and we tried working with the Taliban in the beginning, and things kind of went sideways, as they are one to do. And, it kind of, when you kill one person, 20 more come up because all of his cousins now are honor bound to like avenge his death. And next thing you know, we've now made enemies of not only the Taliban and not only Al-Qaeda, but most of the Muslim world that had fighters that needed to get some fighting done for some jihad shit. We're sending them our way. That's why a lot of our guys are fighting the Chechens, which the Chechens are very capable fighters, for the record. They love to brawl. But beside the point. So yes, Taliban and Al-Qaeda, two very, very, very separate conversations. I'm trying to think of a fair comparison to make here. This would be like
the IRA and the what was the other Irish thing?
This is a contrived example, but I will try my best here. You ever heard of like the 3%ers?
Yes.
Okay. This is like saying, okay, so the KKK and the 3%ers are the same group, right? It's like,
No.
not really. Not really. Well, they look alike and they still do that. There's some very key differences between what they're after, if that makes sense. Tony, help me out. Am I about on par here?
I was going to say that Al Qaeda is kind of like mercenaries. They're from another country and they move to this other war zone 1,000 miles away because they just want to fight. They're a little like, I would say, the Lincoln Brigade of Americans traveling to Spain to fight in the Spanish Civil War. Or I recently learned there were Irish Catholics who moved to Spain for the Spanish Civil War to fight for Franco and the Catholic side. There's always going to be, people pouring into war zones from other peaceful parts of the world just because these are young men who want to learn how to fight. That's what Al-Qaeda was.
Talking about the Irish that went and fought for the Spanish. Do you know why there's such a dense Irish population in Mexico? Same shit.
I don't know.
These dudes got there for, I think it was the Spanish Civil War, but like Mexico's in the mix of all that. The Irish Brigade gets there and they're looking around. It's like, damn, like Ireland's really cold. It's nice here. And these Latino women are thick. You guys are Catholic? What? And so like they just set up shop. That's why, like, weirdly enough, Mexico has like a really dense population of gingers in certain sections, because these dudes got there and was like, damn, I could get down with this. And they just stayed.
Well,
yeah, a lot of Europeans were going there in the 1800s, and they got one famous politician named Ignacio Comonfort, who was Irish in origin in the late 1800s.
Yeah. Same with the whole reason why we have Latin music. Like, have y'all ever wondered why brass instruments and an accordion is used in so much Tejano music and shit like that? It's because German. The emperor that they imported into Mexico, he brought German music with him, and the Mexicans like took these, basically the bohemian musical flair, and then it was like, you know what, we could improve upon this. Next thing you know, we got mariachis. And it's like, I'm just saying, it's fun things.
Jacob, you also there was a Confederate, a lot like how the Nazis went down to Argentina to escape war crimes. I can't remember which. I think it was Venezuela. I might be wrong. Hold on. But there's
Argentina, I think.
I thought it was Brazil that has a Confederate population.
It's Brazil.
Yep.
Just like how there's Nazi towns still in, like, alcoves still in Argentina, there's still, like, people that still wear their great-great-grandfather's Confederate uniforms and, like, show off, like, pictures and everything of them. It's kind
Yeah.
of peculiar.
Oh, it's wild.
Like,
They dress full antebellum. The women wear the big puffy dresses and all of that for their big balls and shit. It's like, whoa.
To be fair, the women dressed up like antebellum is that it's classy, not and it's very pretty, but it don't get down with most of the practices down back then.
It's a whole lot of layers to get through. You know what I mean? At the end of the night, you're trying to do your thing. It's, man, I don't know if you've ever had to fight the good fight to get all these little buttons and straps and lacy things off when you're trying to. An antebellum dress is great for the looks. Practicality of it is it's a dog show. It's horrible. Anyway.
Look, sometimes you got to trade off some seconds to really appreciate the beauty in things. Okay.
Yeah, I could agree with that to a point. I'm happy that I was born in the generation that I was born in, because
honestly, I wish I was born in like the 50s and everything.
Yeah.
But
no, I tell you what, I wish I would have been born in the 30s so that I would have been in my 20s in the 50s. That seems like it would have been a real fun time to be in your early 20s.
Oh, yeah. Though I wouldn't mind have been born in the 19 teens. I wouldn't mind be running moonshine and everything, then going to World War One, getting chicken wing and a BAR or a Tommy gun. That'd be icing on the cake, killing Nazis.
Or the other side of it, I wish I was born during the time of like the first or third Crusades. That would be
my wet dream, okay?
Yeah.
Talk about the ultimate male fantasy, fucking retaking Constantinople while you got playing on the JBL speaker.
Yeah, I don't want that one. No, I'm not trying to take Constantinople, but like taking over Acre or Jaffa, that would have been dope.
I wouldn't mind being in the Tettenberg Forest.
Oh God, the Teutoburg Forest. No. I'm talking Crusades. You're talking Rome, man. Holy shit. Anyway.
Just be born when I was born, but warn people about 9/11.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If I was born when I was born and warned people about 9/11, I would have been, what, 9? Yeah, I would have been 9 years old. Nobody would have listened to me. Although, bro, I've thought about that too. If I could somehow go back in time and be born exactly when I was, but with all the knowledge I know now, just tell my parents, listen, there's this company called Amazon. I need you to throw the entire house at it. Like the whole thing. Don't worry about it. I know it's going to suck for the next 5 years, but trust me, in about 5 years, you're going to be thanking me, you know? That or Google or whatever. Like that, what's that Forrest Gump bit? The Lieutenant Dan had us invest in some sort of fruit company. Now he's saying we don't have to worry about money no more.
He invested. And in that movie, he also made the smiley face patent and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like it. In that movie, he was like an icon of like, I think the 90s is when the smiley face thing came out. And then
it's no doubt.
But he chased Jenny. He loved Jenny and everything, but she only got with him after she got AIDS and stuck him with a kid he didn't know about. So,
yeah, Jenny was a fucking whore.
The bitch was literally for the streets, dog.
Hey, look, it reminds me a lot of my last relationship. Okay, I was a retard. She was a whore. I get it. Okay, I've seen many a man.
Everyone's young once. Okay.
Yeah, I was way too old to be that dumb.
Hey, dog. No offense, and to all the ladies out there, I love you all. I do not mean to be offensive, dog. The power of pussy can make a man go insane, dog.
Oh, that is a fact. Hell, whole civilization's been won and lost over that.
The fucking Trojan War, dog.
That's one example, but there's tons. Although,
I want to know what she looked like.
Dude, there's actually a whole thing about. All right, pause. You know what? Let's go on this tangent. Let's go on this tangent. Y'all heard about the new Troy that's coming out and who is playing Achilles?
A black guy?
No, not even a guy. Elliot Page, a.k.a. Ellen Page, is now going to be playing Brad Pitt's role as Achilles in the new Odysseus movie. Yes, you heard me right. The chick, Juno, is now going to be playing Achilles in the new Odysseus movie.
There's all
Can
kind
we
of memes out
burn
there
off
about it.
all of
Oh, the meme.
Hollywood
I will
now?
say this: the meme game has been on point and has not missed a beat. It's amazing. But and the studio isn't like listening to the words of the public who are like, hey, maybe just maybe we don't do that thing you're talking about. They're over here like, no, this will be a great victory for trans, and it's right.
Jacob, this is coming from the same people that made Jesus a black woman.
I'm sorry, they did a what with the what?
You know that weird ugly bitch from Wicked, the chick
Yeah.
that
Alpha
she
boy
played
looking
Jesus.
ass. Wait, in
She
what?
played Jesus.
In what?
Yes, in a fucking play. She played
Oh,
Jesus.
in Jesus Christ Superstar or whatever.
I don't know if that was it, but she had the crown of thorns and everything. It's fucked up. I don't like it.
Yeah, she also is. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of her acting abilities.
Abilities. I thought she was having a stroke on most of her projects.
I mean, I saw the Wicked movie. You know, I have a daughter, and she wanted to see it, so it was a whole thing. And I didn't hate well, I actually do really hate the Wicked book and play and all the stuff, because this is clearly written by somebody who has never actually read the books and only watched the Wizard of Oz movie. And all right, cool. If you're going to watch the movie Wizard of Oz, and you're going to make a remake and do all the things, fine. But reading the books will show how this was very much not anything to do with anything. This was fanfic off of fanfic, so to speak.
Well,
But like,
speaking of,
go ahead.
so, you know Medusa, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of slightly off. All right, so in the Greek, where she originates from, the Greek mythology, she is actually one of three sisters, the Gorgons. They are all monsters from birth. But she was the only one that was mortal, that could be killed. But her gaze turns men to stone. So you're aware of the big, she was raped by Poseidon and everything? That actually addition would have been Neptune, and that was hundreds of years later, and that was written up by a Roman. So the whole she's a feminist icon, that's not Medusa. That comes from the Romans. That's not of the actual mythology.
You know, there's only a few, and I've done actually a pretty extensive amount of research into this one through different parts of my life. As far as like feminist icons go, when it comes to pagan pantheons, specifically when we are talking about Egyptian, Greek, and Roman, there's maybe 4 that we can really talk about that are like the full embodiment of like women's power for the sake of women's power. The rest of them kind of, it's not like you would want your daughter to try to emulate the character arcs of some of these. You know what I'm saying?
A good one, role model would actually be, I like Artemis, the goddess of the moon and everything, the goddess of the hunt. I like her. She was a mating goddess, a lot like Athena, but she also fits the man hating aspect too.
Well, hold on.
But
Hear me out. It's not about the hating of the man. It's about the empowerment of the women. See, that's the issue here. Because if we're going to look after the women hating men, so Hera, she was pretty much the right hand. Well, I mean, the wife of the top dog god, all the things cool. But she got fucked over at every conceivable point.
But she also tried to kill her stepson. Everyone knows his Roman form, Hercules. His Greek form is actually Heracles.
Right.
So he was legitimately named after his stepmother, and she sent 2 snakes to fucking bite him in his crib. And again, snakes are fucking evil.
Well, they are. But my point is, though, nobody sees Hera as the embodiment and like the goddess that should be at the forefront of the feminist movement. The reason being, although she is the wife of the top dog, she
led a coup against him.
Right.
Like she actually overthrew. She acted for like a couple hours or whatever. Zeus was trapped in a golden net that she had her son Hephaestus forge for. But yet she's also the goddess of family. But yet she threw her own son Hephaestus from the mountaintop of Olympus and disfigured him because he didn't look the way she wanted. So fuck her too.
The entirety of the Greek and by extension the Roman pantheon is
very incestuous.
Well, yeah, very incestuous, obviously, but it's not what I would call the good beginnings of a feminist movement. If anything, it goes directly against that. And again, there's only a few Egyptian goddesses that could even be in the conversation for that. And by a few, I mean like 3. Yeah, no, it's the whole thing about using Medusa as some sort of a feminist icon is laughable. And this is being done by people who clearly have never opened a book in their life, like a history book, not a romance novel. But people do what?
The RHEA, 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 the eldest child of Kronos and Gaia, which is the father's Gaia and father and the mother Earth and everything. She's the oldest. She's actually she's also a virgin goddess, but an eternal virgin. She's the goddess of the hearth, goddess of home and love, like
Right.
familial love.
And you're talking about
that would be a great.
The eternal virgins, though. I don't think this is a good icon of what could be a feminist movement, personally. So any of the goddesses that are a part of that group, and the one I'm talking about, the eternal virgins that were like, they kept their purity for all these things and whatever. Hephaestus, not Hephaestus. Shit. What was the one that was like leading
Hephaestus was married to Aphrodite, but she was fucking everyone, even Ares. But yet, her and Ares' son became Eros, which everyone knows his Roman form as Cupid. He's actually the god of love. Aphrodite is a goddess of lust.
Right, but like Persephone, for instance, she was supposed to be a part of these eternal virgin goddess rungs. Thankfully, Hades saved her from that, but beside the point. The ones that are a part of the eternal virginity side, I don't think that's a good image for the feminist movement either. I'm not saying that women should be whores. I'm not saying that men should be whores either, but like the whole point of having your parts is to, produce and multiply and give life to the earth. Choosing not to use your parts is denying your whole purpose on earth, at least to me. And if I piss off Catholics with that one, my apologies. It's just my opinion. But
why would you piss off Catholics for saying that you're supposed to procreate?
Because a priest does not do so. He's denying, and it's not just denying your flesh. You're denying your actual biology.
Up until like the 1100s, I believe, priests were expected to get married.
Right, because how can you preach to someone about marriage or about children or about how to deal with your wife when you have no fucking idea what you're talking about in any of these regards? That's at least my thing.
Half the disciples were married.
Most of the disciples, even if they weren't married when they started their journey with Christ, they later on did marry. I mean, hell, we've talked about this. I'm pretty sure John the Beloved and Mary Magdalene got married. We don't know this for a fact, but we do know.
John the Revelator.
No, John the Revelator is different than John the Beloved. But John the Beloved, who was the only disciple that actually died of old age, we know for a fact that him and Mary Magdalene at least both traveled and lived in Ephesus for a time. Some have speculated that they got married. If not, they died super close homies. I mean, they both walked with Jesus physically. You know what I mean? But like, who's to say?
How did John the Revelator die?
I don't think it's actually written about. I don't think it's written about how he died. But he wasn't an apostle. Like he didn't walk with Jesus.
Because I know that according to some Catholics, they believe he's still alive and everything, and I'm like,
no. So
the motherfucker ain't Merlin.
Yeah, no. I don't think he's still alive. But no, of the 13 apostles. And the only reason I'm saying 13 is because Saul, later Paul, became the 13th apostle. But other than that, like that's the 12. That's the homies. Like Mary Magdalene wasn't considered one of his apostles, even though she walked with him. But like that's not one of the ones he chose for that purpose, But anyway.
And isn't he the one that no, I believe that's a Samaritan woman. Isn't Mary Magdalene the one that cries and washes his feet? Or is Mary the one that he drew
different Mary
20-something fucking demon from?
Different Mary. The Mary that cried and her tears are what she used to wash his feet. That was Lazarus's sister, Mary.
Oh yeah, because that's right after he saved him, right?
Yeah, this is after Lazarus was brought back from the dead. But yeah, that's a whole. The names kind of repeat a bit. Like Jesus, for instance, that was like the 6th most popular name in Judea at the time of his life, because at the time it was Yeshua, which is Joshua, which is a super Jewish name. So, like,
Barabbas, the murderer that was, you know what his first name was?
Jesus.
Yeah, and which makes sense because going look at it culturally, the Jews, they have two shepherds. They have two I think sheep or lambs. One is slaughtered and one is set free to go to Azazel.
Yeah, the
So
scapegoat.
symbolically, Barnabas, Barabbas, whatever the fuck, he's actually the scapegoat, and Jesus was a sacrificial symbolically.
Yep. That is,
and
everything was by design, brother. 100% start to finish.
I told that to the preacher man, and he looked at me like, I never realized that, never thought of it like that. I'm like,
how?
Well, and everything, huh?
How has he never thought about it like that? He's a preacher.
I don't know, dog.
Okay. All right.
Didn't say he was a good one.
Is he a good one?
For the most part.
All right. But yeah, no. So, wait, I forgot how we even got on this topic. What were we talking about? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, y'all, if y'all want to, not to shameless plug my organization again, but go check them out. The Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem. Hope to see y'all there. Moving forward in the conversation here. So the Iran foreign minister with the no tangible progress. Yeah, he says any attack on Beirut will have grave consequences and will lead to a full-scale resumption of the war. He said our armed forces are ready to strike Israel if it attacks Beirut. Iran, that's cute, bro. That's real cute. I don't believe that Israel's like actually shaking in their little boots over this. Mostly because the Iranian military is a laughingstock, and it is currently a shell of its former self any damn way. Yeah, they did hit the Kuwaiti airport, the Kuwaiti International Airport, not a base, not a air logistics station, not a military compound or a military runway. They hit the Kuwaiti International Airport, just so we're all clear here. Okay. Now, next article from Business Insider Africa. Africa faces new competition for critical mineral investments as U.S. secures Greenland rare earth deal in bid to cut China reliance. So we talked about this. You remember how Trump was talking all about Greenland? We need to get Greenland. He's going to get it. Bop, 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 bop. Well, Denmark, who owns Greenland, said, yeah, we're not going to do that, but we will allow y'all to drill for some shit, mine some shit, set up more military bases, cool, but like we're keeping the land. And historically, if you look, America's been trying to do this since like the 1800s. Like I want to say it was like the 1860s or 70s was the first time America made a play for Greenland, and Denmark did this. The next one was in the 19-teens. The next one was the 1940s or 50s. The next one was the 1980s, and now this. Like we've tried to get Greenland quite a few times, so this is nothing new. Although I have a hard time believing that the reason for it back then was the same reason as now. But yes, now that we know that they have all these proven mineral reserves, we did a whole thing about it once upon a time. Yeah, I can understand why Trump would try to get him some Greenland. So let's talk about it here. The United States has secured long-term access to one of the world's largest untapped rare earth deposits, a move that could reduce its future dependencies on mineral-rich African nations as Washington races to build a critical mineral supply chain independent of China. I'm happy as hell to hear this. Let's talk about it here. The United States secured a 15-year deal to access rare earths from Greenland's Tansbreeze project, reducing future reliance on Africa and China. Heavy rare earths from Tansbreeze, and if I'm mispronouncing this, y'all, I'm sorry. I barely speak American English. So, such as dysprosium and terbium are vital for U.S. defense technologies and are rare outside of China. This agreement helps the U.S. meet upcoming Pentagon rules restricting Chinese origin rare earths and counters potential supply risks. Hell yeah. RE Alloys is building a non-Chinese rare earth supply chain in North America, enhancing U.S. defense manufacturing independence. God, that makes me happy as fuck, y'all. And I mean, not just me. We've talked about this before. So many different news agencies and organizations have talked about this in the past too. China is the only one that makes the things that they make. And we require some of these components to make the computer chips that go into not just our, defensive weapons, but just our way of doing things in the modern day and age. Everybody's been trying to find a way to cut China out as the middleman. If this will lead to that path for the next 15 years and we no longer rely on China, y'all, the Cold War with China is about to take a very, very drastic turn. And I'm stoked for it. Let's talk about it. RE Alloys, which rare earth alloys, a Florida-based rare earth mineral company, has signed a 15-year offtake agreement with the Critical Metals Corp, covering 15% of Phase 1 production from the Tambreez project in southern Greenland. The deposit is among the world's largest known sources of rare heavy earth elements, including, which I already talked about that, the two minerals dysprosium, and terbium. These are essential for fighter jets, missile systems, radar platforms, drones, and other advanced defense technologies. Lord have mercy. The deal comes as the United States seeks alternative rare earth supply ahead of a Pentagon requirement due to take effect in 2027 that will restrict the use of Chinese origin materials in key defense applications. It also strengthens Washington's efforts to diversify critical mineral supply chains at a time when its ambitions in Africa face challenges ranging from insecurity to key mining regions in China's entrenched presence across much of the continent's critical mineral sector. So let's talk about that now. Africa, right? America has relied on Africa's minerals and, by extension, the slave labor that it takes to mine these things for a long time. As a matter of fact, hell, the uranium that was used to make our atomic bombs, that was mined out of Jadotville. And if you don't know what that is, I highly recommend checking out the Netflix show, The Siege at Jadotville. It's actually pretty phenomenal. But yeah, this is all from Central and Southern Africa. Because there's no OSHA there. There's no Human Rights Watch that's checking out for which warlord is running their country in which type of way. So you're able to get whatever the hell you want. Now, China's Belt and Road Initiative has gone into Africa, and they have bought up every mineral reserve, every oil drilling situation around the continent. And this was by design. They are trying to be the one-stop shop for any and all things when it comes to production of things that require something from the ground. If we have done something serious with Greenland here, because all these mineral reserves in Greenland, nobody's taking advantage of them. They have some small mines here and there. No one is going off of all of the crazy amounts of reserves that Greenland has. No one's touching it. No one's touching it. Denmark could make themselves rich if they were to do this. They just don't. They just don't care. Mostly because the population of Greenland is so small, and it's like an area 5 times the size of Texas, and they have 60,000 people living there. Like it's crazy the lack of people that live there. So for America to do this, we are going to be importing some jobs. There's going to be some dudes with some mining companies that are going to be moving for work. And that's all by design as well. But 15 years of us getting all we can get with these drilling and these mining operations, that would be phenomenal. And if we could find some actual depth to these mines and get a lot of bang for our buck, so to speak, we might have actually just completely cut off China's our reliance on China. But possibly the world will start coming to us for these minerals rather than China too. This may have actually just kind of picked up certain things within the Cold War here. Just throwing it out. I don't know. It's too early to tell, but we'll see. Anyway, the situation has added urgency to Washington's efforts to secure supplies of critical minerals used in missile systems, defense equipment, and other advanced military technologies. Reflecting those concerns, Ukrainian President Zelensky warned on X that, quote, there is not enough anti-ballistic missile production in the United States, and this could lead to a crisis in different parts of the world. Bro, we already have an order being filled right now for another 260 just for the fuck of it. That was before the situation with Iran. So, like, calm it down there, bro. Zelensky. You're saying that because you're not getting missiles from us anymore, and somehow you think that means that we've ran out. No, we just stopped giving you the stuff that we had on standby. Like, we got us covered. But anyway, the urgency is heightened by China's dominance of the global rare earth industry, with the International Energy Agency estimating that the country accounted for about 60% of global mining production and approximately 91% of refining capacity in 2024. Yeah, this would be the urgency that we were talking about. 91% of the minerals that are actually processed in the world and like made into something come from China. Y'all, 91%. And as we're in a Cold War with China and we're trying to really give them middle fingers right now and calm them down, this is why we need that. Reducing that dependence has become a priority for the Trump administration, which has pursued critical mineral opportunities across both Africa and Greenland as part of a broader effort to build supply chains independent of China. Although President Trump's proposals to acquire Greenland were rejected by both Greenland and Denmark, the Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, insisting that Greenland is not for sale. At the same time, the United States was deepening its engagement with Africa, home to an estimated 30% of the world's proven critical mineral reserves. So Africa's rare earth ambitions face new competition. On December of 2025, Washington signed a strategic mineral agreement with the Democratic Republic of the Congo, home to some of the world's richest critical mineral deposits. However, persistent insecurity in the Eastern Congo continues to raise questions about how quickly the country can become a reliable supplier for Western markets. Despite Kinshasa's $100 million push to improve mining security, including the creation of a specialized force backed by the U.S. and the Emirati investments. Similar challenges exist elsewhere on the continent, with political instability and security threats linked to armed groups continuing to complicate mining operations and investment planning in Mali. Likewise, the insurgency in Mozambique, Cabo Delgado province, has raised risks for major resource investments, including projected linked to the Balama graphite mine, or Balama, I don't know, one of the world's oldest or largest graphite operations. Meanwhile, regulatory and permitting challenges have also complicated the development of critical mineral projects in parts of Africa. Kenya's Mrima project has been delayed for years by licensing disputes and court battles, while several mining ventures in Madagascar have encountered permitting and regulatory hurdles. So anyway, beside the point, we're talking about how essentially Greenland might be the saving grace for America and possibly by extension the world when it comes to the rare earth refining and processing, because if this happens, if hypothetically this was to really take place and we get in on this, get some serious reserves found and mine the shit out of them and make not just enough things for us to sustain, but we start making extra and perhaps other countries start buying our goods rather than China's goods, I see this is a really good thing, y'all. Like a really good thing. Anyway, all right, moving forward here. This video was actually sent from BP, and I'm curious. This is talking about the junkyard fires, and Advance Auto closes 700 stores. Let's talk about it here. Let's listen in.
And someone mentioned that there were 13 junkyard fires from Connecticut to Jersey to Florida and other states. This one right here from WTNH.com. Meriden, Connecticut. Scrapyard employees assisted firefighters to extinguish a fire within a pile of scrap metal Tuesday evening in Meriden. And it says here that that was under control. And then there's another one from Philadelphia. Crews battle large fire at recycling facility in Camden. And here's some video from that. This one's even bigger. They're trying to move things and doing what they can to extinguish this. So if you guys want to put some cleaner in there and take care of that, be proactive. And here's one from Opelika in Florida. Fire breaks out at junkyard. Here's large fumes of smoke
Wow. So just...
Odd that there's 13. It's just a short time span.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a local thing or if this is just something that someone happened to notice, but this doesn't really seem to be like a normal thing. Again, with new cars, with all the data and the black boxes and the sensors and the kill switches that they're now going to be manufacturing from 2027 on and on.
Yeah, so I'm not going to play the entire thing here, but yeah, so this is not any kind of normal. 13 junkyards have all caught fire within days of each other. That is, I mean, I don't know what kind, I mean, this is clearly something of a conspiratorial thing, but I have no idea what the fucking point of this one would be, right? Like, what are they trying to accomplish on this one? I don't know, but all right, now let's go to this one. So this is that Colin Noir? Cologne Noir. I've seen this dude before, and I have had Coleon, excuse me. I have had mixed reviews on him personally, because while I do like a lot of his content, I like his angle on a lot of things. He backs organizations that I disagree with. So, I mean, take that for what it is. Also, I've heard him say some pretty wild things as far as like the opinions on what was the one, the shooting of Trump and the Luigi Mangione, and how all these people claim to be experts on these certain weapons that were being used when it was like clearly not. I don't know. Beside the point. All right. So apparently you'll never believe how they banned the Glock. Let's listen in on this one, y'all. Coleon Noir, friend of the show. Let's listen in.
Ban the Glock. Not the switch, like the Glock, the gun. The handgun sitting in most cop holsters in this country. The one your local police department issues by the truckload. Connecticut just made it a felony to sell them. And they did it by telling you they were gonna go after a little plastic piece that's already been illegal for years. Stick around, because the scary part of this story isn't the ban, it's the 3 words they wrote it around, and where those same 3 words travel next. As of this week, 3 states now ban the sale of Glock and Glock-style pistols: California, Connecticut, and Maryland. California's ban kicks in July 1st. Connecticut's hits October 1st. Maryland's lands January 1st of next year. 3 states, 1 playbook, and they all sold it the exact same way. We're not banning your handgun, we're banning Glock switches. Let's roll the tape.
Happening right now, things wrapping up at the state capitol. Yeah, in just the last hour, we learned the bill banning the sale of certain Glock-style pistols has passed, bringing an end to a marathon debate overnight. Lawmakers pulled an all-nighter to move it forward to the governor's desk. Lawmakers were concerned those components turn pistols into automatic machine guns. Lawmakers won't get much sleep. They have a long day ahead with just hours left in the legislative session.
A marathon debate? These people lost sleep to ban the gun cops carry to work. Notice the language: certain Glock-style pistols, not switches. Pistols. They told you one thing on the news and wrote something completely different into the law, and Maryland is already getting sued over.
RA and gun rights advocates suing the state of Maryland now. This comes after Governor Moore signed legislation that prohibits the manufacturing, selling, or buying Glocks that can be converted into automatic weapons. Gun rights advocates arguing, though, this bans handguns, which violates the Second Amendment. Maryland is the second state in the country to sign this type of ban into law after California. And Governor Moore's office responded to that lawsuit in part by saying, quote, "Our responsibility is clear: protect families, support law enforcement, and keep dangerous weapons off our streets."
The dangerous weapon you're describing, Governor, is the standard issue sidearm for the cops you just said you support. You can't even keep your own talking points straight in one sentence. So let me show you the magic trick, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's the actual language out of Connecticut. The ban will prohibit the importation or sale of any semi-automatic handgun with a cruciform trigger bar that allows it to be easily converted by hand or with a common household tool into a fully automatic pistol. Violations will be a felony crime punishable by up to 5 years in prison, a $5,000 fine, or a combination of prison time and a fine. A cruciform trigger bar, that's the trick right there. A cruciform trigger bar is just an internal part, a little cross-shaped piece of metal inside the gun. It's not a switch. It's not an attachment. It's a design feature baked into the damn Glock and a whole family of striker-fired pistols. So when they ban any semi-automatic handgun with the cruciform trigger bar, they're not describing a modification. They're describing the gun. They didn't outlaw the bad part bolted onto the outside. They outlawed the inside of one of the best-selling handguns on the planet and dressed it up in machine gun language so it sounds reasonable on the evening news. 5 years in prison, a felony for selling the gun that has been America's pistol for 30 years. And while they're busy rewriting what counts as legal in America, let me show you something for the people who never signed off on the rewrite. It's a hat, one word, America. Stitched boldly, a little aggressive, no apology, because
Okay, so yeah, he's making a very, very good point as far as this goes. I mean, I know he's going to give you a shameless plug for his merch. Cool. But I do want to cut forward to this part. It continues on and says, in all 3 states, the language of convertible pistols, quote unquote, and or machine gun convertible pistols was used to carry the day and secure the bans. Democrats in California, Connecticut, and Maryland fashioned the bans as a response to the use of, quote, Glock switches, which already federally are prohibited. Such switches are plastic pieces that can be affixed to the rear of a Glock slide to make the pistol shoot full auto. Okay. Y'all. Oh my God. So they're not against, allegedly, they're saying they're not against pistols. They're against what could be converted fully automatic pistols, even though the language that was used. And I could even see how, hypothetically, the cruciform crossbar conversation, could this have been written by some people who had no idea what it was? They just looked at a diagram of one of these pistols, found a thing that they think is how it gets converted into a fully auto and not, was like, yeah, that's the piece. Or, which, me being the conspiracy theorist that I am, which, I mean, just call it what it is, I don't think that that was a mistake. I think they absolutely wrote that with the intention of finding any pistol with that crossbar, which is a lot of them, right? Like SIGs have that. Taurus has that. Berettas have that. So as far as that goes, I absolutely see that this was their way of trying to ban just pistols in general. And thankfully there's a lot of people that are pushing back against that right now, because no fucking way. Sam, your hand's been up for a minute. Go for it.
So I was gonna say that, yeah, that's already illegal. The modification of a firearm without a FFL or a certain type of license. I mean, hell, you can legally own a machine gun if you have a tax stamp.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this is just enough. Hell, 20 years ago that we found out that the government will shoot your wife holding your baby and your kid over a fucking shotgun. This doesn't surprise me that it's the 3 most fucking Democratic states that are going after it, and this is just step 1 of them completely disarming us. And I foresee it. I know that a lot of people say, "Oh, we'll never have a third American Civil War," which I personally believe is going to happen a lot sooner than what we actually want to admit, because the left and the right, the dichotomy is so fucking at each other's throat. We're already a powder keg and we're already lit. There is no stopping it. It's gonna fucking happen. And that's by design, because united we stand, divided we fucking fall. And to quote the one president I do not like, and that's because he let his fucking generals burn down my beloved state, Abraham Lincoln. A house divided cannot stand. So
I agree with you, but I also don't think we're going to see a civil war really happen, mostly because you look at your average person from the mid 1800s, 1850s and shit in America versus the people that you really and truly, yeah, like back in those days, if somebody affronted you, you could challenge them to a duel, and that wasn't crazy. That was like understood. Like, yeah, if you talk enough shit, you'll have to come and face him with swords or with pistols. Like, that's how this goes. Cut to America today, words hurt, and we have like therapists and gender affirming language. And I'm sorry, I have a hard time believing that America's actually got the cojones for a civil war anymore. And that's both sides of that, by the way, Republicans and Democrats. I know a lot of people are going to get upset. Oh, I'd pull a weapon and defend. Yeah, I get it. I get it. The people out there that are about that life are about that life. The vast majority of Americans are way too big of pussies to have that conversation, really.
Like Andrew Jackson. I want to say it's Jackson. Jackson's the one that had like 75 duels, and when he died, he like a quarter of his actual body weight was fucking lead.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's actual people say, yeah, no, when he walks, you can hear that bitch sounds like he's full of marbles.
Yeah.
Like I wish we could, if we're gonna have to clone or whatever, I want to clone that splice with his DNA and Teddy Roosevelt, and let's get a badass American president like that.
Yeah, but Jackson had his shit with him too. Like, let's not forget the Trail of Tears. You know, let's not forget the overt racism and all the things.
They didn't say they were the best people. I'm just I like some of the things, and there's other things I'm like, you could have handled that easier.
You know, I know a lot of people like to look at these people, these presidents and these leaders like they were these untouchable bastions of whatever their political ideology is and all these things. We got to remember they were humans, and they had some good shit with them and some bad shit with them. They were absolutely products of their time. That doesn't excuse certain we could call it genocidal things that went down, but we also need to acknowledge their very good things with their very bad things. And the same could be said for like even Richard Nixon. Like, did he do some really out of the box things and like deserve to be impeached? Yeah, for sure. But we also need to acknowledge some of the big victories he had for the American people with his time in office as well. You got to accept the good with the bad with some of these things. You know, it's the same thing with American history. Like, American history has been phenomenal. We've changed the world for the better, all these things, but we can't negate the fact that a lot of our nation was built off of the slavery in and of itself. Like, we have to take the good with the bad if we're going to be honest. You know what I mean? Jackson's one of those.
To bring up slavery, you do realize that it was that the transatlantic, the slave trade, was started by the Dutch.
There's a fact, but a
lot of people don't know that.
But a lot of people don't even know the Dutch India Trading Company existed.
Yeah, they think, that's just something that they made up for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Bro, no, and that's the thing. That was the East India Trading Company.
Yes, but there's also the Dutch one, but both of them were Shanghaiing. They especially over there, they'd get people really fucked up, and then they would have like women that get them fucked up. Then they'll say, "Come with me," and then they would end up Shanghaiing them to serve on boats as essentially slave labor.
No, most people have heard of the East India Trading Company. Most people have never heard of the Dutch India Trading Company. Most people have no idea why the House of Orange, later becoming the House of L'Orange in France, why that family got to the wealth and status and nobility that it did. Most people have no idea that these existed. Hell, most people don't even realize that slavery of the sub-Saharan African continent by Europeans actually started with Leopold II, right, from Belgium.
You mean the one that tried to have a eugenics down in the Congo?
See, most people don't even know about that. All they know about is America's inherently evil because of this. And it's like, okay, listen, I'm not saying that America doesn't have a very fucked up past. We need to acknowledge that. But we can also celebrate the victories as well as acknowledge some of the horrors, right?
If I'm not mistaken, we are the only country that actually have a war to end slavery.
I'm trying to think, because there may be another country throughout the entire span of history. Like for instance, Haiti, they kicked out their slave owners. That was
that was a revolt.
Yeah, that wasn't a war by people for the principle of ending slavery. That's true. Huh. I actually don't know if that's a true statement or not. I'm gonna have to look that one up, Sam. That's interesting. We might be. We very well might be the only country that. Now, there's been for apartheid in South Africa and shit like that, but that was after slavery had already been outlawed.
I'm glad you brought that up because do you remember people say that Nelson Mandela he didn't die in the prison. I remember being taught that he died in prison, even to the point that even the Colors of Friendship said he died in prison.
Right, you remember that.
That's why they fucking rioted. And then the little girl said, "Don't call my father a pig."
Yes, yes, I remember that movie. However, he died in the 90s and served as the president, didn't he? After the 60s when he allegedly died.
Allegedly, but I remember being taught in school that he died in prison.
So this is what, and I know that people are going to disagree with me on this one. This is where I believe the Mandela effect really comes from, because everybody believes that he. Well, yeah, but the problem is that it was a narrative. It was a psyop. The police in South Africa wanted the people to believe that he had died in prison, because while, yeah, it might make him a martyr, he was the real driving force behind this movement. And if he's dead, then yeah, it might be bad for a year, but it'll eventually fizzle out and go away.
So it's already gonna say he's dead. Why didn't they just beat him to death in the cell? And so like, no, he's actually dead. Why go? Why try to pretend that he's dead if he's really alive? That makes no fucking sense.
I don't know. Just to show the people that, like, no, killed him. What are you talking about? He's right here. He's alive, man. What are y'all still crying about this? Are y'all still like, what are you talking about, dude? Nelson's here. He's been here the whole time. You released newspaper articles saying he was dead. We heard it on the news. Blah, blah. Yeah, well, I mean, he's good. He's good. Hey, everybody take a chill pill, you know? Could be seen as a way to stop the revolution. And then once you release him, everybody's already like blew their load and got pissed off about his death, to where now everybody's just happy he's alive and goes home. I don't know this for a fact. This is strictly Jacob's hypothetical situation, but yeah, everybody remembers hearing that he had died in prison. He clearly did not. And now we have two different stories running around on the internet. I think that's really and truly where the Mandela effect comes from. I don't know. I know some people think that I'm crazy for that, and it's clearly because there's two timelines, because they've watched Umbrella Academy and a couple other shows too many times, like Back to the Future, and that's got to be what's happening. I'm like, okay, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, I've had some personal experiences. I'll talk to you about that offline, about how I think we are in a different timeline fundamentally, because there's things that me, Mikey, and his dad, we all know what actually happened, and we remember all the same way, but everyone else says that's not how that happened. Even though we remember it, all the details are the same, and we even pictures of it show it one way, but everyone says it was different.
Okay, then break this down for me, dude. Let's say that you're accurate and we are living in a different timeline. Okay, I'm listening. My question is, how do you remember? Because if we are clearly on another timeline, your brain, your soul, all of that would have continued on the path that it was on. You wouldn't remember something to where it was supposed to be on.
Have you ever heard of the quantum suicide theory?
Maybe refresh your memory.
Okay, so this is like, so think of sacred timeline. You're here, and now you're at a canon fixed point. Either you can say you're in a bunker, you're getting shot out. You can either zig and go right, or you can zag and go left. Well, if you go right, you step on a landmine and get blown sky high. But if you go to the left, you live. But you can have memories of that. Now you're on a branching timeline. And even CERN said, yeah, no, we kind of fucked around and collapsed a couple of timelines. I think what happened is that they merged, like timeline A and timeline B merged, and there's people from timeline A that they took over the other people from timelines B, that they're doppelganger. They merged, and whoever's will or like soul is stronger, more akin to the actual true variant or whatever, they are the ones that survive, and the lesser one dies in a way. You know what I'm trying to say?
I don't, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if CERN actually acknowledged that they did this, or is this like something that people say?
I watched a video and everything, so I mean, take it at face value. But they were fucking around with the particle accelerator, and mathematically, there's so many of different timelines, like realities and everything.
Mhm.
But some did fuck up some shit, and that's why things ripple. And everyone all collectively agree, yeah, this shit started fucking off about the time of that fucking gorilla.
Yeah, Harambe was pretty much the beginning point. Oh, 2016, the world took a weird dip, and it just has not calmed down since, has it?
No, I mean, people have strayed further and further into debauchery, and we got people that mutilate themselves and they're held as heroes.
Oh, you're talking about trans? Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. It's a wild world we live in, dude. And I don't know. I, for one, don't believe it's going to be getting any better before this whole bitch comes crashing down. But, you know, that's also why I am happy to be a part of the organizations that I'm a part of that are out there doing good work to do good work, you know? Once again, not to give the shameless plug, but if anybody is interested in the organization, go check out SMOTJ, the Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem. And if it's something that you look like you might want to be a part of, drop a line to your local priory. You know, that's how I found it, actually, was off of Google search. Go ahead, Sam.
You're an actual Knight Templar of Jerusalem.
Yes.
That makes me so fucking happy for you.
Well, you could be too, brother. So look, this organization is recognized under NATO and the UN and is an internationally recognized chivalric order. That's where I was this past weekend, was in not Charleston, damn it, I keep fucking this up. Charlotte, North Carolina, to have the big national meeting of it, man. And yeah, it's a great organization doing great things. It's not some sort of a tie to Israel thing. Hell, if anything, we have more ties in Gaza than we do in Israel, to be honest, because we are here to help Christians. We are here to help affected Christians, primarily in the Holy Land, but everywhere throughout the world. And we need to do that, man. We need to help these people. And we got Africa. We have genocides going on. We have child trafficking going on all over the world. We need to be the feet of the Lord. We need to be doing his work. We need to be his hands. We need to be his mouth. We need to be doing what he asked us to do. So this is a great organization to do that.
Boondock Saints style?
I'm not going to confirm or deny. No. So we do have some of our organization that are actually kicking in doors and help save children. As of this moment, we don't have an armed wing, but we have a lot of guys that work in a armed capacity that also happen to be members. So you do with that information what you want. Is there a connection? Is it a loose affiliation? I don't know. You know, I'm just me.
I can't remember. It was in a weird it's in the 90s. It was during a civil war, but it's over in like Eastern Europe. People like rich people would be they would go there and be tourist snipers. They would shoot at humans.
Oh, dude, I just had somebody tell me the other day that that's clearly what's happening in Israel, and it's like, dude, okay, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, where there's always been war, there's always been psychopaths, and if somebody really wants to, like, if somebody has the urge to kill, they're gonna fucking kill. You can't. Everybody has a demon that like, when your mind's that fucked up, there is no. I don't think there's any really a bit rehabilitating you if you're a serial killer, and if you're gonna pay money to hunt a human, I get it. It's the world's most dangerous game, but like, fundamentally, you shouldn't be in society. But I do believe there is a place for society for psychopaths, and that is, I hate to say it, the military.
The infantry,
like, yeah. But like, if you are like torturing people and like shooting kids, then paying for it because you want that thrill.
No, that's
I don't. You're not a person. You are a threat and a target.
I agree.
And I personally believe we should, if somebody hurts children, like, and preys upon them, not just sexually, but any sort of way, they should be strapped to a stake Either they can be impaled, but blunted side, so it takes longer, and grease it up so it doesn't. It'll push their organs out. They'll live longer and excruciating pain. Or we burn them at the stake, or both at the same time. Because you shit like kids are off the fucking table, dog.
Agreed. But yes, as far as the people that are paying big money to go be snipers in war zones, I've seen this before. I've seen these videos and I've seen these people claim that that's clearly what's going on. I got a hard time buying it, and I'm not saying that's 0%. I know it has happened before in history, yes, and even modern history, recent history. I could acknowledge this. But if that was going to happen, it would be more towards like some sort of one of these warlord skirmishes in Africa or in Haiti or something like that. I got a hard time believing that, especially in a war like in Ukraine or in Israel, where there is bullets flying on both sides, it is not an easy day, that some wealthy billionaire is going to come in. You got this dude that's a trained sniper. Like, let's just say he's Ukrainian, trained sniper, and he's out there trying to bag some Russians, right? And some billionaire is going to come in and give away his sniper position for X amount of dollars to get one kill. Yeah, well, it'll be in a bunker and it'll be this and this. That's not how actual warfare works, especially from a sniper position. So, like, I got a hard time really buying it.
These were civilians.
Yeah,
that they were targeting, and like,
okay.
Tell me how many civilians are going to be looking out, like a quarter mile or half mile away, and look at the fucking hills to try to see a sniper glint. I mean, I do it because I'd always try to find the best sniper advantages. I'm weird. I can't help that. But most normal people ain't going to fucking look for that, because why would they? Most people are in a bubble. They don't truly understand how fucked up the world actually is.
Yeah,
hell,
no,
there was the two snipers that
the DC snipers.
Yeah, that they were using a modified Crown Vic, I want to say, where they popped out through the fucking keyhole in the trunk with the barrel and everything. Which then, like, how are they? The
it was
sight.
The gas cap. Yeah,
and they were. So it's, if there's a will, there's a fucking way, and
yeah,
most people. And have you noticed most people that do stolen valor, they always say, "Oh, I was a sniper or a SEAL."
Yeah, I haven't actually. The people that are claiming stolen valor these days, on the rare occasion that I find one, it's really easy to tell very quickly, and it's like, cool, dude, your life is so shitty, and your life is so boring, and you have accomplished nothing to the point to where you have to pretend like you were one of us, dude. Like, that's sad. That's actually sad. Most of us would have rather never been associated with it, and you are trying to make it seem like you're gaining cool points for it. It's like, wow, you clearly have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. You know what I mean?
I came across somebody who said, yeah, he was a SEAL and that he manned that he was over in Nam, and I was like, those were frogmen, but okay, I'll listen. He said he was in a ball turret shooting dual fucking 50s into the force. I'm like, dog. And he said that why his eyes fucked up because he got hit with a RPG and it like shrapnel fucked his eye up. I'm like, you'd be dead, but you do you.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, that's like World War II shit.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's an older dude who clearly has nothing going for him. And it's like, all right, buddy. Sure.
Like, he didn't even look old enough to even been in it. Like, he looked, I mean, I was 19 at the time, so that's about almost 10 years ago, but he looked like he was in his, like, late 40s, maybe mid 50s. I'm like,
Like I said, I feel bad for a lot of these dudes that feel like they really have to try their hardest to try to fit in on a group where they clearly have no business fitting in. And I try not to be a dick, because these dudes are probably already inching closer and closer to eating a bullet by the day. And I know there's a lot of people that get like super irate over like, that's my uniform and blah, blah. Like, I get it. I was that guy for a long time. I fully get it. Dude, can you imagine?
I feel sad for him.
Like, for real, can you imagine? Never mind. I ain't going to go there. I'm not gonna go there, but yeah, the stolen valor people can and shall get fucked.
Isn't
The-
it illegal?
yeah, it's a federal crime. But I mean, what are you gonna do? If you call the cops on a dude for claiming that he's something that he's not, the cops might write him a ticket, but most of the time they're gonna be like, dude, he's not hurting anybody. Fuck off. Like, he's not getting his free meal at Applebee's this Veterans Day. Okay, move on. You know, it's most of the cops are not gonna make it a thing, but sure, technically speaking, you could. It's like impersonating an officer. There is a version of that for impersonating a veteran. Yeah. But it really only plays in if money gets exchanged on that. So like a dude going around wearing a Marine Corps veteran baseball cap, Purple Heart. No, I think there's actually something as far as stolen valor goes for that one. But let's say just wearing like a hat that says Army veteran. Okay, like that's not against the law. It's shady, but it's not against the law. Let's say he somehow gets in at Veterans Day and gets a free meal. Yeah, he may have to pay the restaurant back. The issue that I have seen is where people will try to get money from these like nonprofits and shit, and they will actually rack up like hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from these people who are genuinely trying to do good things for the veteran community. And then when it's found out that they aren't a veteran, they have to pay that back like 2 or 3 fold. So like that does happen. But it's rare that somebody goes through all of the lists of things that you need to be able to accept money from these nonprofits and shit and keep the lie going that you are a veteran or aren't a veteran or something. Matter of fact, Angry Cops just did a video on one of these chicks. Oh shit, what was it? Last year, I think. This girl was like running she worked at the VA at one point. And because of that, she found a file that was an easy enough thing to just kind of change and do some things to put her name on it. It was back whenever it was still paper and it wasn't digitized. So she was able to kind of change some things over and make it look official and all of these things. And then she ran with it for the longest time and was getting all this money from these veteran groups and all this. Then finally it was discovered that like, okay, you claimed you were where and at what time? And then when she told them, it's like, no, you weren't, because that base didn't exist at that time. And this didn't happen. And this didn't happen. It was a whole thing. It was a whole fucking thing. Come to find out, she had received like $300,000 in, I think it was like housing. Like she had, it was like something from not Habitats for Humanity. It was something where this group was giving money to veterans to like build or buy homes and buy a car and all these nonprofit things. Come to find out, she never served. So she, I think, I had to pay like close to $1 million back. It was fucking crazy, which good for her. Good for her. But yeah, it's a mess. I'm seeing in the chat right now, Nelson, Flavors of the Forest, said, my friends that are veterans have seen horrible shit, so they know what is possible. They realize some people are just evil. No, that's a fact. That is a fact. Some people aren't even worth the bullet it would take to put them down, but somebody's still got to get out there and do the Lord's work. You know what I mean?
I mean, roping trees are free, and it ain't even the tree that's doing the killing. It's gravity. We can use God's gift to exterminate these bastards.
Yeah,
and just
true.
express and lane shit them to meet the Lord.
Yeah.
Let him figure it out. We can't judge him. We can just set up the appointment.
That's right. Midnight Calling says stolen valor has to be some type of mental illness. Dude, it can be. Some of these people I get, right? If you're just trying to get a free beer or you're trying to get a free meal over it, like, all right, it's shitty, but at least I could understand. I could put the piece together as to why you would do this. Some of these people, though, like to your point, they have convinced themselves to the point of arrogance that their story is real. And it's like they've told the lie so many times that they actually lose grip with reality and they start making up these stories in their heads. And it's a whole thing. I personally agree with you that a lot of them, I think, can be chalked up to some form of mental illness. Yeah. Yeah. But there's levels to it. There's levels to all this shit, you know? Anyway, y'all. All right. I had a couple more things I wanted to talk about tonight, but we're not going to get to them tonight. It's fine. I want to thank y'all for being a part of the Cajun Night Live with me, as always. If you are listening to this and you would like to be a part of the conversation every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central, with the exception of when I have to go out of town and handle some things All right. And I don't know if I'm going to be available for next week just yet. I have to relook at my schedule because I know I'm going up north. I think I'm supposed to be available on Wednesday night, but if not, I am going to let y'all know on the Patreon. We might even shoot a different day, right? I'll let y'all know times and things and whatever there is. But Nelson, did your package make it? Not yet. Not yet. And that's the problem because I'm about to head up north. So while we're there, we might take a trip and meet up so I could test the Cajun line of your product for my damn self. I'm excited. Just giving that shameless plug, y'all. Once again, if you're listening to this on the Spotify or the Apple or wherever, go check out flavorsoftheforest.com. Link in the description below. Use the promo code CULT at checkout, CULT, for 15% off your order. All orders over $30 is free shipping to your door. Listen, if you like garlic, if you like real seasoning, good, healthy, wholesome ingredients in your food, this is going to be the one-stop shop for you. And stand by because the Cajun line is coming out soon. Tracking says delivered. I'll check tomorrow. I got to go back towards that direction. I'll double check. You mailed it to... Give me offline, Nelson. I'm not sure if you mailed it to the P.O. box or to my house. I think you mailed it to my house, though. I don't know. We'll talk later. Anyway, go check them out, y'all. Flavorsoftheforest.com. Use the promo code CULT, like I said. And if you want to be a part of this conversation every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central, like I said, go to the Cajun Night, patreon.com/Cajun Night. There's only one tier for entry. Just trying to make this group the once a week meetup so we can exchange ideas and talk geopolitics, talk history, talk culture, all of the things. And I know I thoroughly enjoy my Wednesday nights, and I know all the other members of the retinue do as well. Again, everybody, I am the Cajun Knight. Thank y'all for joining me. And as always, God bless.